Welcome to Season 6, Session 2. We're taking the data from the years past, bringing them to you in great ways, and I hope you enjoyed Session 1 of Season 6, where we really broke down some of the big changes, the big things that have come up over the years and shared them with you to really fast forward your progress in life. Today it's going to get deeper, more detailed, a lot more fun, in my opinion, because questions are everything. Questions, the best questions asked, can really change the trajectory of your life, your team's life if you have a team. We'll talk about that in our business mastery training. Your family's life, your husband or wife or best friend or girlfriend or boyfriend's life. It can change the trajectory in so many dynamic ways. The beauty of it is that when you get into asking great questions and you do it with great energy, which we'll dive a little deeper into in just a minute, it's infectious. There's a contagion. So before we even get started, I would love to know, do you bring great energy? Do you ask great questions? And most importantly, in regard to great questions, do you get fully present and engaged when you're listening to them? Or are you known to cut people off? I've talked about this, and if you've been in our trainings, you know, I call this the trifecta of awesome. It's where you're bringing great energy, asking great questions, and you're an amazing listener, fully engaged and present with whoever you ask the questions of. So how are you doing in these areas? If you're watching this in our premiere, go ahead and comment. Give yourself a rating. A, I'm a great, bring great energy. 0, not at all. 10, crushing it. B, I'm a great question asker. 0, I don't ask questions. 10, I ask great questions. And then C, I active listen, full engagement. It's kind of like we're listening to hear, not listening to reply. You can sense it in somebody, and I'm so aware of this just because I coach on it. We role play with it, and I'm happy to role play with you in our Zoom roundtable today. Really crushing it. If you're watching the replay and you're not in our mastery community, we have Zoom roundtables where we take the work that we do and we bring it to life. And we make sure you get some momentum with it. You try it out. Try it on for size. Make it go. If I haven't told you lately, thank you so incredibly much for being on this beautiful journey with me. We're in our 6th year. Being here, supporting you. I was looking over some of our first videos, Season 1, Season 2, and I was like, dang, I was crushing it then, in my opinion, and in the feedback. And I feel like we're still crushing it together. So many of our founding members are still founding members. That's a tell on what I like to think about as unconditional love, plus asking great questions over time, right? That all said, I just want to make sure as we progress, as we get more masterful, that's the ambition of health, wealth, and happiness mastery, is we're always on the hunt to get more masterful, that we recognize the power of great questions. So I can't wait to see your ratings, see how you did in those 3 areas. That's the one part of this. The other part I want to cover before we get into why we do what we do and dive into these beautiful 9, these are the ones that I studied and listened and asked, and I take notes at the end of every session. I'm like, okay, what was it that landed for them? And then in future sessions, like beyond the session that I checked in or shared with them great questions, or we role play through them, then the subsequent sessions I'll ask, hey, did you try that question out? What happened? And these are the top 9 that help individuals, even with themselves, asking better questions of themselves, with those closest to them, those they care for, love, support, those they serve if they're an entrepreneur, those they're team members with, those they're in church organizations or general organizations, nonprofits, groups, meeting new people, these kind of things. These are the 9 that through test, measure, I just throw a bunch out. Maybe if we have some time, I'll go over some extras. But these were the ones that rose to the top. These are the ones of these 9. If you get masterful in their delivery, watch out world. Watch out for your world. Watch out for you. And maybe you are masterful in some of these already, but there's always room to level up. So I really want to make sure one of the key components to this is what we teach in physiology mastery, in the high performance sessions, the core sessions, in our high performance work, through our high performance core sessions. That's kind of covered in high performance habits. Then we do the charge sessions. There's 12 of those, 12 core sessions, 12 charge sessions, 12 declarations based on the Motivation Manifesto, and then 12 more on leadership, high performance leadership. Meaning that a big theme we teach in high performance leadership is people support what they create. Everything's a co-creation. And inside that co-creation, we're asking great questions to co-create. Does that make sense? Ooh, it's so good when it all ties together. What I'm getting at through the core session of physiology mastery, a big part that we cover is our voice, our posture, our gestures, and our facial expressions. So as a kind of precursor to everything we're going to go through in our journey today, in this session, I want to make sure another 4 areas for you to think about. When you go to ask questions, especially with those closest to you, where you have behavioral rhythms at play, this is what a lot of people report. Charly, you have no idea how difficult it is to ask these questions of my mom, who I don't have a great relationship with. We get into a neutral, negative rhythm fast, and it just happens. And I have to pause myself, get out of the trench, get to observer mindset, and then I really have to come at that through the lens of, Mom, I'm trying to be better for us. Well, I'm trying to be better for me. And I want to have a better relationship with you. How do you feel about that? Great question. Well, that'd be nice. Well, what does that mean? It means we're going to bring better energy, hint, and we're going to ask better questions. And Mom, I'm going to be a better listener. I just role played through the trifecta of awesome with you in the context for a mom and a daughter or son. And I can tell you, now I'm almost to 5,000 sessions. I had to do a tally of this to sort out how many sessions I'm at in the high performance realm over the last decade. And I can tell you that what I just shared with you, that I've role played with many people. And we do it at various times, sometimes in the energy session, in our core work, sometimes in the physiology mastery session. Sometimes it just comes up. It could be in any session. And at the beginning, I always ask, hey, so what's shown up in life? Is there any examples or any things that have happened since our last session where you want to talk it through? You weren't your best self, and you kind of want to replay it with me, and we can step into that together. Another great question. Really helping people through that lens. So circling back, everything we've shared so far, I've given you an illustration or two about the trifecta of awesome at play with a mom and in this case it was a daughter. I've talked through voice, posture, gestures, facial expressions, and it's really critical before we get into any of our work today that you've gotten some mastery in those 4 critical areas. Is your voice just da-da-da-da-da? Is it ba-ba-ba-ba-ba? Or the da-da-da-da-da-da? Is there a roller coaster to it? So honored back in, I want to say it was 2013 through 2018, Brendan, our master coach, had an event called World's Greatest Speaker Training, and he brought us in to the venue, which was the particular one I'm thinking of is in Santa Clara, California. If you're from Brendan's world, you've been there many times, the Marriott in Santa Clara. And he had Roger Love there, vocal coach, and Bo Eason, body language, storyteller, and energy, all this kind of stuff. And it was through that 4-day experience, and I went to it quite a few times, that I really got the gist of what it means to have tempo, timbre, the timbre of your voice and its delivery, the volume, the melody, all these different things, the pitch. Just putting energy through your throat in the form of a voice emitted can tell so much without a great question or anything else. And you know that to be true. The one I always love to, the example I always love to use is, honey, did you take the garbage out? Same words. Hey, honey, did you take the garbage out? Same, pretty much the same words. Completely different levels of energy. So I really want to make sure, if you want to get masterful with these questions, really, really pay attention to how you're asking the questions. What's the energy setup? Where's your voice at? Where's your gestures at? Where's your facial expressions at? How's your posture? One gal said, there's a question we ask in high performance, I think it's physiology mastery. It's in the worksheet. And it's, when do you notice your posture is the farthest out of alignment? Something like that. And one girl said, anytime I'm around my mom, I'm like this. Head down, shoulders scrunched. And my posture is not the best. It's just not in a good place. Why is that? And what we determined, what she kind of admitted, she also was working with a therapist, is that she felt beaten down and her body just assumed the position. We cleared up pretty quickly that she wasn't physically beaten and she wasn't like emotionally beaten too bad, but she was kind of ready for it. There was some emotional issue going on where there was a rhythm that was just substandard, is the way I would describe it. And she really noticed her posture was there. So does that help? I just really want to make sure as we get into this that we're kind of arming you with all the needle-moving things that people have shared and that I practice that's helped me get more masterful, but helped, I would say, thousands now of others that I've coached in groups in person, on phone, through Zoom. Through Zoom's fun because we have it on a recording and they can watch the replay and get more mastery. Oh, I'm going to watch that timestamp just before I go and meet with my mom. I'm going to role play, go back through that role play with you. I got it on my phone, the video and the audio. That's the magic of high performance coaching. And if you feel like it's time for you to get high performance coached or go through it all again, and you like go through with me or one of our high performance coaches, feel free below. There's a link to the high performance application, and that helps us understand exactly where you're at, exactly how we can serve you and take care of you. It'd be an honor to help you. If you're in our master community, you're in our group high performance coaching, but if you want that one-on-one experience, we touch on it a little bit in our in our Zoom roundtables, but that's there for you as well. So there's a lot of opportunity, especially if you're in the mastery community, to get this interaction and role play. It's so good. That said, let's go ahead and jump in. Before we get started on the questions, we're going to take care of why we're doing this anyway. Why is it important for us to get masterful in health, wealth, and happiness? And there's 3 critical areas this season we're concentrating on. If you remember last season, we concentrated on the 5 Ps: purpose, passion, positivity or joy, productivity, profitability. Making sure that those first 4 Ps are aligned, and if they are, and we have the right behaviors, the 5th P, profit, happens as a sort of side effect. You go out in the world and you're more joyful asking great questions, especially if you're in sales or if you're an entrepreneur, which means you're probably in sales. Guess what you get? Clients. And guess what happens as a side effect? Sometimes you repel the people that aren't the good ones because you're bringing such great energy. Like, I don't want to work with that guy or girl because they bring, I'm not there energy-wise. But then the people that are of good energy are like, yeah, if you can help me, great, I'm in. You sense how this is all playing together? So this season we're concentrating on foo. And I like to start with the O, the last O, and work backward. What are the outcomes that we hope to achieve in life? What are the outcomes that we hope to achieve in this year? As with the filming of this, we've got, 3.5 more months of 2022. So by the end of the year, what are the outcomes that we hope to achieve? So often through the lens of what we're going to cover today, they want to feel better about the questions they ask themselves, people have shared. They want to feel better about their relationships, which is a big theme of season 6 here. They want to feel better about getting more masterful in how they interact with others. And I like it because so many times in our sessions, I'm now coaching a professional footballer in the United States. I'm coaching a major influencer in the world. I'm coaching another major influencer, just some of the more influential, the people that are affecting change with tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people. These things show up. And when I talk through the outcomes, they're like basically the same. I want to feel, especially when they're on the personal development, I want to feel I lived a life fully lived. And what does that mean when you break it down? They don't all say it the same way, but the outcomes are pretty clear. I want to feel like I'm providing for my family and myself, or providing for my loved one and myself, depending on the context, whether they're family or not. I want to feel like I'm helping the world be better somehow. So often we reflect through that lens of helping people improve their lives and help people grow their business. And I want to have fun, freedom, and adventure. And they don't always say those things, but 2 people I'm coaching now for 6+ years in high performance, they have me ask them at least every 3rd session, try to ask it every session, am I still having fun? Because it's an assessment to them living their best self. One of the outcomes they want is to have continued fun in life. Does that make sense? I'm throwing a ton of questions at you. I'm going to take notes on this training. I love to watch my trainings. It's kind of weird. And then get more questions. And yes, I have a great questions list, which is one of my challenges for you, to create your great questions list with over 600 or 700 great questions in it. And I just keep adding to it and categorizing it, doing all that. These are in there. These are the ones that rose to the top. Does that make sense? So before we get into the questions, let's finish our food. So we have the outcomes. And then once we're clear on the outcomes, what are the outputs, the behavioral rhythms, the habits that we need to live into to create the outcomes? If we want to have more fun, freedom, and adventure, the behavioral rhythms, we take care of our family or ourselves or our loved ones, whatever that would be. One of the behavioral rhythms is to create income somehow. We'll talk a lot more about that in our next session. Another behavioral rhythm is to make sure that they're in a good place most of the time psychologically, that they've asked the right questions, especially as they set up their day. And that's a big part of what the Growth Day app is. That's a big part of what the High Performance Journal is and the High Performance Planner is priming your mind with great questions. You probably know as well as I do, the science shows when we ask questions of our mind cannot do anything but answer it. So what are the questions you're asking? Specifically around the outputs. What are the behavioral rhythms that you need to develop, amplify, create, whatever that would be, to hit the outcomes that you want in life? So more illustration, kind of get deeper. If we want to have great relationships, we have to have a great relationship with ourselves typically. So what are the things we're doing to have that great relationship with ourselves? I can tell you mine, and you probably know it if you're in the community. There's 10 things tied to the wheel of perspective. I'll link to that below, which is basically the whole 10-day health, wealth, and happiness challenge I've created. Sleep, hydration, eating nutrient-rich most of the time, exercising. I'm out running every other day, 2 miles or 5K in the hot Florida sun, and it is hot. Some days I got to do it in the afternoon, and I'm dying, sweating gallons, but I'm out there, revving my heart. I'm making sure that I'm happy, overall feeling that sensation of happy. There's the other things about finances, purpose. I have a daily plan that helps me keep things in a rhythm to hit the outcomes that I want in life. Does that make sense? So really, really clear. What are the behavioral rhythms that you need to amplify, 2x or 10x, that really help fast forward reaching and living into or going after your outcomes? Cool. Now let's go to the F. This is the part most people forget, but this is everything about high performance. Feelings. 4 kinds of feelings. As we think about living into the output, getting more sleep, hydrating more, eating more nutrient rich, how are we thinking about things as we think about it? Oh, that means that starting next Monday or starting tomorrow, I'm going to have to double down on eating less beige foods and more green foods and red foods. And I'm thinking peppers, apples, maybe carrots, orange, kale, these kind of things, not colored sugars. So really being clear, that's kind of setting up for the feeling of that. The second area, the second feeling, is how are we going to feel as we're doing it? So the highest performers think about these 4 feelings. First 2 we're going over right now. How we think about it as we're going to start it or get into it. How we think about it as we're doing it, or how we feel as we're doing it. The third feeling is how we're going to feel as it's completed. The first time we complete having, I remember the first day I did this, my high performance kale shake. Kale, like raw kale, almond milk, coconut water, some Vega 1 powders, a little amazing grass powder, some frozen whole big organic blueberries, a banana, kind of sweeten it up a little bit, and then blend that thing until it's just nothing, just liquid, and then take it in. Oh, I'm going to feel like that felt like grass. Ew. But I'm really aiming to know that it's really one of the fastest ways for my body to absorb nutrients in a really profound, powerful way. All right, I'm going to keep that in mind as I'm living into this. That's how I want to feel as I finish that first shake. Most important feeling is the fourth feeling. How do I want to feel as I think about, in this case, that first shake as a future memory? Oh, I did it. I overcame it. And now I'm doing it 2-3 times a week. And that was me in 2013. We're almost to 2023, 10 years later. I still make the high performance shake. Pretty much haven't changed the way I make it in almost a decade. And I still feel that light, lean, clean energy. And it's really critical because I thought about that in advance. I didn't leave feeling up to chance. I really thought about, I want a lean, clean energy, and I can sense this buzz when I eat primarily alkaline-based foods, cut down on the acidics, sometimes raise my ketones, if you're familiar with ketones, and I feel this lean, clean energy. I run faster, I breathe better, I sleep better. All these kind of things happen when I'm in that non-acidic state. Non-sugary state is one way of thinking of it. And that's a big part of these 4 feelings. So let me go back over that if you're taking notes. We're clear on the outcomes. That's this guy. We're clear on the outputs, the behavioral rhythm, the things that we're putting out of ourselves, things that we're creating, delivering, doing, or inputting in the context of eating the high performance shake, right? We're making something and then we're sucking it down. And then we're clear on the 4 feelings. How we want to feel as we think about it, how we want to feel as we're doing it, how we want to feel as it's the first time it's done, and how we want to feel as we think back to this new thing as a future memory. So much gold here. I hope you're picking up on something, sensing it. And if this is a repeat for you, if you're in our master community, we talk about this in different ways throughout. How are you doing it living into these things? Have you built the best outcomes? Are they producing, the best outputs? Are they producing the best outcomes? Are you clear about how you're feeling through it? Is it feeling good, or do you need to amp that? Are you having fun yet? So that's the top part. Feelings, outputs, and outcomes. That all said, I hope I'm giving you a little time to finish your notes. Let's dive into the gold 9 questions. It was so hard to pick these because I was going through, I have 600 plus questions in my great questions list. Then I'm going through all the coaching sessions, and I've been doing this. I like to reflect on it. Like some people watch Netflix. I like to go through my notes. Well, what's that? I like to look at the data. There's a part of me that's a data freak, and I like to look at the data. These are the ones, even now, in the last 2 weeks, I've coached 17 different people. So these are the ones still showing up as the golden needle movers of questions that have really helped them change, amplify. When I say change, for the better, amplify their life, the quality of their life, quality of their outcome, like really going after their outcomes, the quality of their outputs, how they feel. Very first question, these are in red for a reason, is I ask, or I have them ask, what's important to you in life right now? What's important to you in life right now? So let's talk about a little illustration here. So many people have said, how do I ignite the relationship with my mom in the context of that girl I was talking about in the beginning of our time together? And I said, this may feel wonky, especially thinking about asking your mom this, but go back through those feelings we talked about. I had told her the 4 feelings. And I said, tell her that. Just say, hey, mom, this might feel a little weird, but I'm trying to be better for us. Or let's work on your wording of this. So I'm going to ask a question and I'd like to talk it through. And maybe now isn't a good time, but I'd like to ask it. Maybe later we can talk it through. You tell me. See that co-creation at play? We're asking, maybe it's not a good time right now, that's fine. We're not controlling for a result, we're controlling for openness. So mom, what's important to you in life right now? And the thing with the way she asked it, bringing good, positive energy, is she was really looking for values, qualities, characteristics, traits, things that are really important to her mom through a more reflective conversation. Mom, what's important to you in life right now? To which she had shared with me, her mom was like, well, I want to make sure my kids are taken care of. Okay. And then what we practice, and this is a really important distinction, is let her go through the surface level of what's important to her in life right now, and you either take notes or be a great listener and take mental notes. So I want to be better for the kids. Okay. What else is important in your life right now? Well, I want to have more fun. I want to do more of my hobbies. Okay. Kids, hobbies. Okay. What else is important in your life right now? Well, I want to assure your dad and I are taken care of once he stops working. Okay, Dad and I are taken care of once he stops working. What the message was that I got from her through that conversation was financially. And they were worried about the transition to, Social Security in the United States, monthly recurring revenue from the government, essentially. And so with those three areas, she had a couple more, but with those three areas, it was real clear. Why is it important for you to take care of the kids? Why is it important for you to get into the hobbies? Why is it important for you and Dad to feel like you're taken care of? And what can I do to help? You see how that question is a great opener? Another illustration of that question at play that is magic is there's a girl I'm coaching, and she's in her 30s, and she said, Char, anytime I'm at a barbecue or in a group of people that I don't know real well, I stand over here, and people think starts with a B. And it's because I have this face that doesn't have real emotion, and I'm just like, they think I'm stuck up and I'm kind of a B. And I said, well, would it be helpful if we kind of illustrated some things that you could try to overcome that or be more courageous in that situation? Do you feel that would be of benefit to spend some time there? Coaching quick question. If you want to write those down, those are really great questions. Because I could have just dumped it on her, but I wanted her to engage with that concept. She goes, no, that would be amazing. So first thing I taught her was that trifecta of awesome. What's your energy like? What kind of questions? If you had 1, 2, or 3 questions to ask of anybody around you, I wouldn't want to ask questions of people. Well, we're going to have to work on that one. But what would be a question to ask if somebody came up to you? Well, how are you today? Okay, well, that's a start. And then third, how great of a listener are you? Oh, I'm a good listener. And she is a good listener. I mean, we've talked that through. We sprung that one. And it was wonky as all get out. She's like, I'm not going to be asking people I don't know what's important in your life right now. And I said, let's pretend you just met me and you didn't want to ask me that and you felt like it was going to be weird. But bring a joyful, again, my life theme, joyful curiosity to it. Hey, this may be a little weird, but rather than me just asking like, how you doing? Can I ask you a deeper question? And we practice that. What's important to you in life right now? And the moment she let those words out in an event, it wasn't a barbecue, it was like a get-together. This is so funny to tell you this. Her husband and her husband's friend, her husband knocked her husband's friend, who obviously her husband's known her for a long time, and her husband's friend's known her for a long time. They're like, look at her, she's asking great questions. Or she's asking questions. She's talking to other people. What? They were both amazed at that difference. Does that make sense? So I just really want to make sure if you want to have that deeper connection, let's break this philosophy down for you. When you ask what's important in your life right now, and then you ask if you're comfortable with it, you ask why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? Oh, it unfolds into really great life-changing questions because that's where you discover they have interests that are similar to yours. Maybe after they're done sharing, you're like, hey, would it be okay if I shared what's important to me in life right now? And for me, I'd be sharing things like I'm walking the beach a lot because I love to get out and move and I'll have to walk the beach. Now I tell them why with my grandma and me having that kind of sacred connection there. I love to play video games. And I've met a lot of people my age, believe it or not, a little gray here, that love to play too. And now we're playing together. These things are openers for creating better relationships. Is this landing for you? So often in the teams that I coach, we ask this question at a team meeting. Hey guys, it's first of the month of this quarter. So January 1, April, July, and October. And maybe it's not exactly the first of the month, but it's our first meeting of this quarter. Before we get started on our team meeting today, we'd love for you all to take 5 to 10 minutes, jot down a few notes. What's most important to you in life right now? That can include things we're doing at work, areas you want to grow in, relationships you want to amplify, relationships you want to not amplify. We can be open and honest because this is a safe zone. See how this question has legs? That's why it's in red. Excuse me, it's really, really critical that we leverage the power of these questions. Please try it. My challenge for you is very clear. Please try this question out. Go ahead and pre-frame it. Tell them, hey, rather than me ask you the question of like, how are you doing? Can I ask you something a little more deep? Sure. Or if they say no, okay, cool. How are you doing? Most people will not say no. Just try it and see what happens. And don't do one and done. Try it a few times over the course of just say a week. See how it feels for you. See what happens in life. See opportunities unfold for you. This is critical. All right, second question. Life-changing questions from 30 years of coaching, teaching, training, studying, testing and measuring, all this stuff. Second question. If you suddenly had, wrong color, if you suddenly had a free day, how would you spend it? What would you do in the morning? What would you have for lunch? What would you do for dinner? What would you do from between breakfast and lunch? What would you do between lunch and dinner? How would you end your day? And the context for this is so clear, and it's such a great follow-up question to the first one. And that's why it's one of the game-changing life-changing questions. Is that if you suddenly had a free day, how would you spend it? I've challenged so many people to ask this or variation of this. If you suddenly were given a week off or whatever, how would you spend it? But I always challenge them to think this through the senses. Sometimes it pairs well with the question I had to throw out, but I'm going to bring in here as a secondary for you on this one. What's your favorite thing to smell? What's your favorite thing to eat? What's your favorite thing to drink? What's your favorite thing to feel? So go through the senses. If you suddenly had a free day, how would you spend it? This question goes on for hours. Because when they're done sharing, you can say, can I give you some ideas? And you can co-create with them. Does that make sense? When they're done sharing and you've co-created with them, then you can ask. Again, we're not dumping our answer on them. We're asking, would it be okay if I shared how I'd spend a free day? If I was blessed to have one? Like, let's just say my boss called up tonight, because tomorrow I got to go to work. And they said, hey, you know what? Tomorrow I'm giving you $100 and I want you to go enjoy the day. You've been crushing it at work. I want you to go enjoy the day. And I did that with my team many times. To which we had them journal in a team meeting what they would do on their day off. And then I had them go out and research, in the team meeting, I had them go out and research the pricing for everything. And it all came, each one of them except one, I think, came to below $100 for the entire day. A spa day, or 2 hours massage, an hour at the beach, lunch at this restaurant, walk the beach, go to this great place for dinner, And the way it ended up working out was maybe around $100 at the time. And so I handed them all $100 bills and said, now your job is to schedule that day. Go ahead, in the next 3 weeks, just make sure it's not all on the same day, so not all in the office. Schedule it. Talk about amazing. That's what I'm talking about here. So really think about this through your lens. If you suddenly had a free day, how would you spend it? What do you love to smell? What do you love to taste? What do you love to drink? What do you love to eat? What do you love to feel? What do you love to see? What do you love to hear? And I'm thinking of movies, going to the theater. That was one of the things I had shared. Walking the beach, if you're happy to be around the beach. Getting outside, doing something fun. Grabbing somebody and going for a hike. Whatever. That's the magic of this question. These two questions paired, hours of conversation if you want it to be. Because keep in mind, if you're bringing great energy and asking these questions and then kind of going down the rabbit hole with them, and then you stop, if they stop sharing, then you flip it. Hey, would it be okay if I shared what I do on my full day? You see how this goes? So, second question challenge, are you going to ask it? And I would challenge, this is going to be hard for some of you, to ask the people closest to you. It'd be weird. Like, mom, dad, brother, sister, friend. This is kind of a different question I'm going to ask. But I'm really trying to sort out like how to live a fuller life. This is how I like to frame it. And I'm always looking for ideas. Would it be okay if I ask you a question that's maybe a little off, just a little wackadoodle? Sure, go ahead. If you were suddenly given a free day, a full day off, how would you spend it? What's that look like for you? And then maybe get into the senses with them, because that really kind of helps fill that in. And then the favorites. I like the senses and the favorites. What's your favorite thing to do? What's your favorite thing to eat? What's your favorite thing to smell? Because that stuff really ignites conversation. My go-to when I'm meeting somebody new I'm sitting somewhere, maybe at a bar somewhere or whatever, chilling out in Naples after walking the beach. Hey, so what's your favorite drink here? What's your favorite food here? What's your favorite thing about Naples? What's your favorite thing about the beach? Who do you like to spend time with? Like, the favorite thing is so gold. And I had to kind of throw that out because I'm going to pepper it in, the favorite aspect to some of these questions. But that's magic in itself. So that ends question 2. Question 3. What life theme would you commit to? What life theme would you commit to? Now, when I ask this question, generally I've already teed it up. And I've said, early in my work, in my personal development, self-improvement work, and high performance, and by then we probably talked about I'm a high performance coach, or I'm kind of reflecting on I help people be better and do better and feel better in their life and business. Somewhere along the lines, I'm like, but I chose a life theme, and my life theme is joyful curiosity. So I talk about the conversation through that lens. And I say, in order for me to be joyfully curious, break it down, to be joyful, I have to get my rest. I have to hydrate. I have to eat right. I got to exercise. I got to get my brain in the right place. That's to be joyful and present and engaged. To be curious, what's the number one thing in curiosity? You're questioning things. You see how this connects to the bigger picture? So there's the constant questioning going on. That's the magic of joyful curiosity. So I'll ask them, what life theme would you commit to? And sometimes I'll walk them through a little bit of what we teach in the clarity session of the core, which you can read about in the chapter on clarity and high performance habits, is developing that the 3 self words, the 3 interactive words, the 3 success markers. I usually start with the self words and then talk about the interactive words. And if you're not familiar with high performance coaching, the 3 self words are 3 words that you would use to describe your best self, like who you aspire to be for yourself at your very best. And my clarity chart is right over there. Mine, present, joyous, and bold. And when I say bold, I'm talking courageous and curious. Then we have 3 words that are interactive words. And those 3 words on that chart, compassionate, enthusiastic, and loving. And I hope you're sensing it in our work today. I hope you're sensing I'm living into the bigger theme that's sort of the summation of the self and interactive words, joyful curiosity. But those words help flesh out a life theme. So even if you're not a coach, if you're sitting with somebody or want to get to know somebody, talk about your life theme, presuming you have one. I hope by now you do if you're in my world. And if you don't, I just primed you. Think about it for you. Go back through that. If you're watching, you can watch a replay, listen to the audio, go back through that piece and develop your life theme. And then as a high performance move, the challenge for you is to rate yourself on how well at the end of every day you lived into your life theme. Okay, replay my day. Joyful curiosity. Did I approach that new task, that new thing that I'm learning with joyful curiosity? No, I was getting too anxious. I was thinking too much about the future. Okay, got to rewind. Got to try it again. Does that all make sense? So this is a big part of the high performer's lifestyle, is they're looking back through the words that they say are important to them, and then they're rating themselves on them. So breaking this one down, and I want to make sure we land this for you, but we also help you with your arsenal for helping others, inspiring others, having better conversations with people, having better relationships. What life theme would you commit to? Or maybe if you're in high performance, what life theme have you committed to? Comment, share it. Then if you're up for that challenge, beyond that, think back through the last 3 weeks and how well have you lived into that life theme through thick and thin. 0, not at all. 10, dominating it, crushing it. What does that look like for you? Oh, isn't this gold? Take a deep breath. Got through the heavy duty ones. The ones in red, as I hope you can sense, are complete game changers. And I'm not just saying that because I've changed my life. I've got the data from hundreds of people, thousands of sessions that show those questions and the application of those questions through the trifecta of awesome. Bringing great energy, voice, posture, gesture, facial expressions, asking great questions, and then listening. Dial in, I hear you. I'm listening. I'm in. You see how that all kind of builds out. Is this helpful? Take a moment. Take a deep breath. Think through everything we've covered so far. There's so much meat here for you to move your life forward and your relationships forward. What are you committed to? What's raised, of everything we've covered so far, what's the one or two things you're really committed to moving forward? What have you loved about what we've covered so far? What was maybe not new information, or maybe it was new information, but it's like, yep, oh, I got to double down on that. All right, let's get into the green. The first three were red because they are mission critical. The next three, life gets very juicy when you get these suckers in play. First green question. Question number 4. What's one micro habit you'll commit to? And it could be this week, could be today or tomorrow, could be this month. So let's break this down for you when we look through the lens of outputs. What's one micro habit you're going to commit to this week? Through what I've taught you so far, what people have shared when I go to this question, is like, well, the micro habit I'm going to share is I'm going to ask one more question of my husband or my wife or my kids, but through the lens of great energy. And I'm going to really try to listen better. That's actually a couple micro habits. I'm going to ask one more question as a micro habit. Just one more question, one time a day. That's a micro habit. Now, I'll break down what micro habits are in other ways in a minute. I'm going to take a beat, a moment, and just really pause life and listen to them. Just for 5-10 seconds. Micro habit. Active listen. Other examples of micro habits that have actually worked for people, I'm going to read one page of a book every night this week. The moment my feet hit the floor in the morning when I get up, I'm going to do one jumping jack, or one burpee, or one push-up. One person has a kettlebell kind of by their bed. Do one kettlebell swing. Like, that's the essence of this micro habit. I'm going to assure, this is another guy said this, that before my feet hit the floor in the morning, I reach over and give my wife one kiss. Just one kiss. He knew her language. First language of the love language, for many of them, is physical touch. So he gave her a nice kiss in the morning. Changed the dynamic of their relationship. 15 years in, I think he said it was. It's like, that's a micro habit. Just one quick thing. One page of a book, one kiss, one jumping jack, whatever it is. So when we ask this question, pre-framed with what the topic is, what's one micro habit you're going to commit to this week, you can see how just one more question, 7 times in the next week, the trajectory of life can change dramatically, especially when you apply great energy and active listen. Does that make sense? Oh, it's so gold. So what is one micro habit you're committed to? And maybe it's one micro habit per day over the next week. Some people, they put it in their calendar. They put in a daytime event and they label the micro habit and they have it in their Google Calendar or Apple Calendar. And it says one kiss, one push-up, one page, one jumping jack, one burpee. And they got it all in there and they can check it off when they get up. That's a micro habit. Is that helpful? So good. Oh, so good. So I'm curious, joyfully curious. What's one micro habit you're committed to? Maybe over the next 5 days. Just one different thing you're going to do, one of. Just quick. Share in the comments. If you're watching us on a premiere, let us know. If you're watching us in a replay, let us know. We'd love to see, because I tell you what, whatever you comment might be an idea for somebody else. Is that helpful? Oh, if I haven't told you in the last minute or two, thank you for being here. This is everything to help you, to help those you care for, those you love, those you serve. Propagate a positive contagion of awesome. To inspire others, to help others be better, do better, feel better. Is this gold? I hope you're sensing it. I hope we're delivering for you. Just imagine stacking up everything we've covered, laying it out in a worksheet, and setting standards. Am I bringing great energy? 0 to 10 today. What is it going to take for me to bring great energy? Or did I bring great energy today? Number 2, did I ask great questions today? Did I active listen today? Oh, How did I want to feel as I went into the day? How did I want to feel as I lived the day? Did I live into it? How do I want to feel as I close the day? Did I live into that? How do I want to feel as I reflect on this changing day as a future memory? And then like look at it after. Oh, it's so good. So good. Question number 5. What will it take to 10x this? This one, I got to tell you, this is usually one we ask after we've got a pre-frame for it. Meaning that, okay, I'm going to try the kiss per day. And this got kind of raunchy. What will it take to 10x this? The guy starts describing, I'm going, you know what? You can journal on that. You don't need to explicitly tell me what it will take to 10x that. Just as a hint, he started to kiss the rest of her body. Which I thought I'm like, thank you for sharing. If you want to keep going, you can. But if you don't, that's fine too. But that's the essence of it. When we think about this idea for the life theme of joyful curiosity, what does it take to 10x joyful curiosity? You see how the 10x question has like legs for practically everything? What will it take to 10x the relationship with your mom, your dad, your loved one, somebody you're having difficulties with, but you really do want to build that relationship? And if you need help here, so many people, they get caught in the chaos or the struggle of it that they just can't see beyond it. They're like, I can't even think about what it would take to 10x this because I'm so caught in sometimes I'll call it the trench of it. But to 10x it would mean that we're having fun together again. We're going and playing mini golf together. We're going to the movies together. We're getting coffees together. We're shopping together. We're hiking together. And we're doing it with some sort of rhythm, like maybe once a week. We're having that girls' day or girls' evening or girls' hike or guys' hike or, whatever it would be. What would it take to 10x this? And that question is so incredibly powerful in almost every context of life. Couple ideas. Sleep. What will it take to 10x your sleep? Maybe it's impossible to 10x your sleep because there's just not enough minutes in the day to 10x your sleep if you're thinking it through the time lens. But the quality of your sleep, what will it take to 10x that? I don't know, but I'm going to go sort it out and figure it out. There's enough information on Google to help you with that. What would it take to 10x you having better energy? I'll give you a hint. High performance, baby. That's a good start. Do you sense how this question has great legs, especially through the context of what we've covered so far? What will it take to 10x the outcomes in my life? Especially when you think about including other people. If you're fun, freedom, and adventure, to 10x my adventures, I'd want to be bringing people along who are of the same qualities and traits and values and characteristics that I am, that really enjoy new things, have a great attitude as they do new things. We've had a couple of those incidences in some of my sessions where they brought people that degraded the experience because they thought they enjoyed adventure, but they didn't. And they were immature in the way they handled their emotions. So be careful with that one. But when we think about this, what will it take to 10x? I hope you're sensing question number 5. It's got such legs. So incredibly helpful. Does that make sense? So we'd love to know what came up for you when I said, what would it take to 10x this? And maybe do that through the lens of your favorite things. What do you love to do? What do you love to eat? What do you love to drink? What do you love to feel, see, hear? And then what does it take to 10x it? You see how these things work in conjunction? I am arming you in so many beautiful ways right now. I hope you're sensing it. You meeting somebody new are going to quickly be able to assess whether they're worth having a conversation with if you ask any of these and then pop that one. Does that make sense? Oh, so good. That ends question 5. Let's go on. Question 6. Why is that important to you now? Why is that important to you now? And there's a 7x there. If you've ever heard or been taught, a lot of the high performance coaches that I work with have been taught, learned, or seen at Brennan events. Joe Polish was where I saw it way back in 2013 or 14. The 7 levels of why. So let me kind of pre-frame. When you say to somebody, hey, what's important to you? Are you getting enough of that in your life? If you had a free day, how would you spend it? Oh, so you really like, going to the beach. You really like having a shopping day with your friend. You really like taking hikes. Why is that important to you now? And through the lens of why it's important to you, in the context for what we're sharing here, you're able to really get deep. Because their answer, they may say, well, it's important to me to go shopping with my friends because I feel like I don't spend enough quality time with my friends. Oh, okay. And I might say, so have you ever read the book, The 5 Love Languages, that talks about the 5 love languages that humans have, and then how to assess whether, there's actually a quiz in the book that you take an assessment, and it shows you what your love language is. And quality time is a love language. Do you think that quality time is a love language for you? Like, do you prefer quality time over some of the other love languages? Acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation, gifts. And they may be like, yeah, quality time is number 1. Oh, okay, so what else do you do for quality time? When have you felt the most quality time in your life? And with who? Or what were you doing? Okay, so why is that important to you? And you can come back to the why is that important to you to really move that conversation forward. The reason there's a 7 is that if you go 3 or 4 deep on that, usually, not always, you might get tears because you're getting to the core of what's important for them in that realm fast. The easiest way I can think of it for me is like, why is it important for you to be a good dad? And then they went and did 7 levels on me there, and I was like a blubbering mess. Because my kids are my only real legacy. And that's exactly what I believe. If you know me, you know that to be true. And that was how I really developed this deep commitment and connection to being the best dad I could be through the 7 levels that my coach worked with me through in 2013 and 2014. And thanks again to that beautiful person. And I know she knows who she is for really helping me dig that out of me. Because that serves as the guidance for how I behave when I think of the outputs and the outcomes that I want in life. So these 7 questions, the 7 depths of why, starting with why is that important to you, is incredibly cool to pair with or add to some of these other questions. If you suddenly had a free day, how would you spend it? Oh, I'd be going to the beach, I'd be going shopping, I'd be going hiking. So why is it important to you to go to the beach? And if you ask me, and you probably know because I've shared this illustration, well, when my grandma was here, her and I had our best moments of conversation, walking for miles on the Southwest Florida beaches together. Wiggins Path, Sanibel, Naples Beach. And I got video, some of it, from the 80s when we were walking it, and the early 90s. And I would be thought, well, why is your grandma so important to you? And then she was my real role model. She was a mentor. She was an amazing lady with unconditional love. Why is unconditional love important to you? You see how this goes? This never ends. Again, keep this in mind. As you go and you get through that, and they may be exhausted from all the questions, he's like, hey, would it be okay if I shared why X, Y, or Z is important to me? Remember, we're not dumping it on them. We're asking them for permission to share. Is that helpful? The green questions. Amplify success in major ways. Are you sensing how these top 3 and these 3 completely crush? Take a deep breath. I know I'm throwing a ton at you. Illustrations, challenges. The challenge for this particular question is real simple. Have you asked your husband, your wife, your best friend, whoever it is for you, your closest person in life, why something's important to them now? And then gone deeper with them on it? And have you actively listened and brought great energy during that? Just what I shared with you is what I shared with the professional NFL player in one of our sessions, or our first session. And he said, that's a game changer. Because his commitment was he wants to make sure he's the best for his wife who's taking great care of him, but he doesn't feel like he's been taking great care of her the last few years. His mind's been in other places in the sport, trying to play the game of politics and football. But this part is really critical. That's why I want to make sure you're adding this to your ninja moves of awesome questions, going after it. How are we doing so far? I've asked this as we ended our red questions, but I want to ask this as we ended green questions. Takeaways, thoughts, insights. What'd you love about this part? Anything coming up? All right, the last three, if you're in our community, we already kind of know these, but they're incredibly powerful. Families have put this in play at dinner. Teams have put this in play. My team put it in play in 2013. I put this in play with customers' teams. Like, not even in high performance. Customers who are working with us through the internet and the other business that I have. And these have game changed everything. Because if you ask this question every week, these three questions kind of work together. If you ask these three questions every week, 52 times to amplify and course correct. If you ask these every day, and let's just say it's the work days of the week, 5 times 50 weeks, what's that? 250 days? Imagine that. Like, if you just meet as a team at the end of the day and ask these three questions, and I know I haven't revealed them yet, just imagine the power of asking great questions that are built around growth at the end of every day, at the end of every week. I ask them at the end of every month, quarter, and at the beginning of the new year about the previous year and about the current year. So let's go through them together. The very first question here, what did I get right last? And that could be day, week, quarter, month, year. This comes from a place of gratitude. And this is a great question to ask as a conversation, paired with these or added to these. Hey, so another question for you. You up for another question? Yeah, go ahead. These questions are kind of cool. What do you feel you got right in the last week? And you're just sharing about your relationship with your mom. What did you get right about the relationship with your mom in the last week? Oh, I took her flowers. I called her like I told her I would. I took her out to lunch to her favorite place. She really loved that. Okay, cool. And then maybe you ask more questions about that. Like, what did you take her? And what was that cool? And why was taking her there important to her or you? See how this works with the other questions? The second question of these three is, what did you get wrong last week, last month, yesterday, and why? So what did you get wrong? Let's fix that. Yesterday or last week, month, example. There, I'm going to fix this E. It's looking a little whack. Now this comes from a place of accountability. Like, what did I get wrong last week? Yesterday, last month, last quarter. It's great for teams when you do quarterly work that way. What did we get wrong last quarter? After we've started with what did we get right last quarter? And I really make sure the team has time to share. And then if they're drawing a blank, I'm like, hey, what about that? What about that relationship with that customer? What about that new technology we found and implemented? Oh, yeah. And I'm writing those up on the board. In our training room, at the time I had a big whiteboard there, so I would write them up. Now I do it on Zoom on this whiteboard. What did we get right? Okay, so what did we get wrong in the last week or yesterday or the last month, and why? And so we spend some time here. If it's just for me and I think about what did I get wrong in the last day, I'm like, oh, could have done that better. Kind of replay the day in your mind. Could have done that better. Why did I do that? Wow, I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't have intention. Does that make sense? And the last question really brings it home. What's going to change? Wrong color. What's going to change this week, tomorrow, month, how and when? So let me go back through the three. What did you get right last week, yesterday, last month? What did you get wrong? Let me fix that. What did you get wrong last week, month, why? What's going to change this week, month, tomorrow, how and when? And this comes from a place of action. This comes from a place from outputs towards outcomes. When we think about, okay, what's going to change? What are we going to double down on in the next week? Well, we're going to have to learn how to do that better. We're going to have to test and measure it. And by next week's meeting, I'm going to have new data for us. And how I'm going to do that is by testing and measuring it, and by next meeting. So one of the things taught in High Performance Habits is there's a chapter on it, necessity and deadlines. And the how and when helps them formulate, and if you're in a session with them or in a meeting with them, helps you co-create with them how it's going to get done. And you can add in, hey, do you think about this? What about that? Can I help you with this? And then by when? What's going to work for us? I like to co-create deadlines. So we think about that idea of, okay, When do you think you can have that done by? So these 3 questions, like I said, as I introduced them, they've been asked many times around the dinner table with kids. They've been asked many times around the dinner table with just husband and wife, over coffee. Hey, what did we get right yesterday? What did we get right last week? What did we get right on that family trip? What do we think we got wrong? Why? What's going to change when we have our next family trip? How and when? Da, 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 da. You see how this has legs for situations? Oh, in team meetings, this has gone nuts. I facilitated this, and then they've rolled it in their team meeting. And I get texts, emails, Charly, this whole the 3 power questions you have us ask have changed the game for our business, for our lives, because I'm asking them in the team meeting, but I'm also asking them with my family. Whew. How'd we do with our top 9 life-changing questions from over 30 years of teaching, training, consulting, coaching, testing and measuring and everything else? Did you like this? Is it helpful to share through the results lens what's worked for people with tons of illustrations and application? If something's come up, you're like, Char, get the questions, have this situation. That's what our roundtable is for. So let's talk that through in our roundtable. We'll end today's session 2, season 6, with our action list. First and foremost, I already alluded to this. Create your great questions journal or document. Mine's in Pages. Used to be in Pages, then it moved to Evernote. Now it's in Apple Notes. Originally I had it in Pages, which is like Word on the Mac, and that was in the early 10s. Then I moved it to Evernote when I used Evernote, and now I have it in Apple Notes because I can access it real quickly from any device. And it's so long, Evernote was taking time with their new version to load long documents, and I like speed. So maybe it's on a piece of paper for you. Maybe it's a Word document. Maybe it's a OneNote in Microsoft's world. Maybe it's a note on Apple Notes or on your phone. But create my great questions and just pile in a bunch from today. And then maybe put some rhythm to them. We talk about that outputs part. Put some rhythm to them. Okay, I'm going to ask these every day. I'm going to ask these every week. I'm going to ask these every month. And maybe some of the ones you're asking every month are going to be asked every year. That's how I do it. If you want to talk that through, I'm happy to. 2, develop your energy to ask great questions. If you need help here and you are in our mastery community, go back to Physiology Mastery, to the worksheet and to the coaching session, which is the replay is in our library, and watch that again. And I'll make sure to link to that below. You do have to have access. You do have to have mastery community access, of course, to get into that replay. But go back and really study voice, posture, gestures, facial expressions. Helpful? So good. 3, amplify active listening. So become an active listener or amplify active listening. Like really take time, pause your thoughts and hear what's being said, and just really, really acknowledge. And I try to do that with a joyful face. Okay, yeah, like that. You sense that presence and energy? That's active listening, presuming you're saying something. But that's my side of the equation, through the lens of my life theme, joyful curiosity. Is that helpful? Number 4, challenge the 3 C's. So when we think of challenging other people, questions are challenges. If you go back to the influence model, session 6, the core sessions, it's also inside High Performance Habits, Influence. The highest performers challenge people's character, they challenge their connections, and they challenge their contributions. So character, connections, and contributions. So many of these questions do it by default. If you think about the life theme question, joyful curiosity, it's challenging their character, it's challenging their connection to others and themselves, and it's challenging their contributions to the world. Because when you go into a conversation of joyful curiosity, it's like a contagion. Their energy uplifts because you're doing it. You're contributing to that conversation. If anybody's around you, they're sensing it. It's crazy how that works, how we're all connected that way. Is that helpful? And number 5, and I've alluded this whole time, role play with us in our roundtables. Would love to role play with you. I do this in many of my sessions. We start out, especially with my more advanced coaching peeps. We're like, all right, what showed up? What do we need to role play through? Char, I had this meeting and I don't think I did. Okay, let's paint the scenario. Let's role play. This ends top 9 life-changing questions from over 30 years. I had to throw so many out. I tried to interweave the favorites piece and a couple others. I hope this really helped you. As we wrap up, one thing you loved, share it in our premiere or in the replay. Let me know what is one thing that you absolutely loved about our work together today. Thank you so incredibly much for being here with me. And I cannot wait to roleplay with you in our roundtables. If you have great questions too, pop them in the replay. Pop them in the comments. We'll be adding them. Maybe we can develop our own synergistic great questions list. Thank you so much. Love ya, and I'll see you soon. Bye. We rocked it.